Doing one thing and one thing only can quickly get boring. One way to fix that is by introducing more variety. That much I think is obvious. On the list of things that are obvious will be adding more different ways of achieving the same goal, and Overwatch has most certainly done that. For example, we got different types of topping of health bars. Mercy got a beam, Zenyatta got an LOS bound orb, Lucio has short range AoE, and Moira has cone-shaped AoE healing. And you'd think that when it comes to variety, that would be enough, and there are games where it would be. But Overwatch is not one such game, because you see, the developers have put more responsibility as well as differing tasks onto different heroes of the same category. And this is where we get to hybrid heroes. Hybrid heroes are playing an important role in Overwatch, and today I want to talk about why that is. Love them or hate them, but at the end of the day, they are here to stay and we have to deal with them. But first, why don't we try to theorize about what the game would play like if hybrid heroes did not exist? Imagine a world where every support hero is only there to excel at healing. Tanks only exist to soak damage and crowd control, and DPS heroes are all glass cannons. It is my assumption that, well, for one, the game would be much more boring, but primarily it would create a lot of problems in regards to matchmaking. Not the first problem you would think of, is it? Well, it sure wasn't mine. You know how we keep complaining when we get into matches where everybody wants to play DPS, or you got 4 people who only know how to play support? Well, imagine that, but worse. On top of having players who specialize in one role only, you also lose the ability to more easily flex those players onto different roles by necessity. A Zenyatta main might still be able to play other projectile DPS, and Ana could still be able to pull off a decent soldier or McCree, and the list goes on and on. Because heroes have this crossover of responsibilities and playstyles, we can more easily swap to other heroes in a pinch. If you know how to aim, it's not like that ability goes away only because you play another hero. You just have to get used to their playstyle. As much as a lot of players like to specialize on one role only, a lot of others just play those who they feel they have an affinity for. And it makes sense. If you have decent aim, you might feel drawn to play hit scan heroes more than something like Junkrat or Pharah, even when from the outside, somebody would simply label you as a DPS main. And I think it's fair to assume that in our hypothetical world, DPS would still be a very popular role to play, if not even more so. If tanks were limited to soaking damage and crowd control, and supports were exclusively heal bots, the argument that DPS is simply more fun to play might be even stronger. But if we go that deep down the rabbit hole, we also have to address that the game we talk about would have been built different from the ground up. Our code word here is role queue. A lot of you guys, me included, speak in favor of a role queue system like World of Warcraft, where you tick a box for your specialization and then let the matchmaker put up a group together that meets the standard requirements for this game. For a dungeon in World of Warcraft, that will mean 1 tank, 1 support and 3 DPS, and in Overwatch we'd go for the standard 2 tank, 2 support and 2 DPS lineup. And this is where some of you might already wish for that alternate reality to exist, a world where everyone specializes on their roles and thus make a role queue not only feasible, but also logical. It is my belief that in this hypothetical world, Overwatch will be a much more balanced game, but also an incredibly boring one. What makes characters in Overwatch so fun is that they all have personality, and they all play significantly different from one another. Sure, you might have different types of healing, but if all we do at the end of the day is hold M1 to top of health bars, then that's going to appeal to even less people, especially compared to the flashy role of dishing out damage. In our current version of the game, all the heroes have more of an opportunity to shine individually, no matter which role you play. Landing a big bionate on the enemies can easily win a push, or getting frags for days as Zenyatta can turn a losing fight into a winning one. We are given the responsibility to juggle our abilities wisely, as opposed to only fixate on one single thing. That makes the game much more fun, but also more dynamic. And it is my belief that this is part of the success of Overwatch. Heroes have been given ability sets that make sense thematically. They give personality to every single character, not only with their design and lore, but also through their gameplay. Imagine if McCree did not have his flashbang and roll anymore because crowd control and mobility are not part of his role. I mean, okay, mobility is a bit of a strong word here, but you get my point. Or what if Ana's bionate did not affect enemies? She didn't have a sleep dart anymore and could not damage enemies either. Imagine Zenyatta only tossing Harmony and Discord orbs around without actually doing damage himself. The idea of these characters that we have in our heads would change fundamentally. The game would be so much more streamlined and so much more boring. Counterpicking would be almost exclusive to the DPS role, making the other two roles even more undesirable. In my opinion, there are too many benefits to the addition of hybrid heroes that removing that concept will be worth it. You make the game more dynamic, you have more of a crossover between playstyles, which allows you to find other heroes and other roles to play, rather than being limited to only stay within this one frame. Okay, sure, balancing the game might or might not be easier, and a role queue might become a bit more of an obvious thing to implement, but that comes at the cost of plain and simply having fun. I mean, looking back at the whole problem surrounding Mercy, a lot of these players voiced their dislike for the boring playstyle that she forced upon them. So removing everything that's fun for the sake of more easily balancing the game is probably not that good of an idea if you're trying to appeal to a mainstream audience, which, if you are trying to sell a game, you most certainly want. At this point, a lot of people who never even played Overwatch know a bunch of the heroes and what they are known for. Brand recognition at its finest. You don't just make a boring game for the sake of making it easier for yourself. Yes, it is a massive undertaking to balance Overwatch properly, especially if you keep adding new characters to the mix. But they decided to take that risk and it paid off, because the game sold tens of millions of copies and became a massive success. And that concludes today's video. As always, my friends, leave all of your thoughts and opinions on the subject in question down in the comment section below. What do you think the game would look like if the devs did not add hybrid heroes and playstyle crossover to the game? And would you prefer that hypothetical game over the current state of Overwatch? Let me know down below. And while you're down there, don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you all next time.